Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! John Morant! Insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast, Grizzlies Win edition. My name is Keith Parrish. Happy New Year, everybody. The Grizzlies beat the Phoenix Suns on New Year's Eve to pick up a rare road win over the West. They did it despite not having Ja Morant or Zach Edey or Marcus Smart or Santi Aldama or Brandon Clark. They did it behind Jaren Jackson Jr. scoring 38 points and Desmond Bane scoring 31 points. They did it with season best performances from Luke Kennard and John Konchar. Both of those two players were not traded in the last few days for Dorian Finney-Smith. Let's get right into it. The Grizzlies bounced back from the ugly loss to the Thunder to pick up their fourth road win against the West. They beat a competitive team. This was an important win. Yes, the Suns had been struggling, but coming into this game, the Suns were 13-3 when Devin Booker and Kevin Durant both played. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant both played in this game. Now, it's not as if the Suns were at full strength either. I mean, the Suns were missing Yusuf Nurkic, who was suspended. They were missing Grayson Allen, one of their key reserves. Bradley Beal left the game with injury. So this was not a full-strength Suns team, but it's still a great victory. And when you compare who the Grizzlies had off the bench, we're talking Colin Castleton, Cam Spencer, the two-way guys are playing. It is a notable win, and it's a bad loss for the Suns, but I saw Kevin O'Connor saying this is one of the worst losses of the season for any team. Talking about the Suns, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I can think of Grizzlies losses this year that are worse than this Suns loss. I mean, the Kings lost on a 4-point play where they blew a big double-digit lead in the final minutes and Mike Brown got fired. That was a much worse loss than this one was. But it's still a great victory for the Grizzlies. It was very impressive. I did not get to watch the game live. I was doing New Year's Eve things, but I did catch the end of the game, mostly live, and then rewatched on Wednesday morning. And what an enjoyable experience. Watching Jaren cook in this one was great. Jaren bouncing back from arguably the worst game of his career. He was 3 for 17 from the field against the Thunder, had 13 points and 3 turnovers. Ugly game. Jaren passed that scoring total halfway through the first quarter. He had a 19-point first quarter, made 7 out of 9 field goal attempts. The Grizzlies led by 10 after that first quarter, 36-26. Jaren did pick up his second foul right as the quarter was ending, so there was some concern maybe about foul trouble there. But then after the 19-point first quarter from Jaren, Desmond Bane got going in the second quarter, and it ended up that the Grizzlies led 69-55 at halftime. This ended up being the biggest margin of the game. That was the largest lead the Grizzlies held at any point. It was not a beautiful second half. It was not even, I'd say, a good fourth quarter. It actually was kind of a disastrous fourth quarter in some aspects. The Grizzlies missed their first 11 shots of the fourth quarter. Even in the third quarter, the Suns cut into the lead quickly. The Suns got it within 4 to start the third. Scottie Pippen Jr. got in foul trouble. It was not a great game from Scottie Pippen Jr. This was a Scottie Pippen Jr. Tyus Jones showdown. A lot of people talking about Hey, is Scottie Pippen Jr. better than Tyus Jones? A lot of those conversations I see going on. Well, Scottie Pippen Jr. in the matchup finished with 2 points, missed all 5 of his field goal attempts. However, he did make some big plays. He had an amazing block on Devin Booker in the second half that got me super excited. He finished with 2 blocks and a steal. He had, however, 4 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, 2 points. Although Tyus Jones was scoring a lot for the Suns, he finished with 21 points. But Tyus Jones finished this game with 2 assists and 5 turnovers. That is a stunning outlier assist to turnover ratio for the league's best assist to turnover guy. That's a career high tying 5 turnovers for Tyus Jones and only 2 assists. That's amazing. Good job, Grizzlies defense. And the Grizzlies won this, no doubt, in the second half with that grit grind defense. Yes, Desmond Bane carried a huge load. Of course, Jaren finished with 38 points. Yes, Luke Kennard stepped up in a huge way. But like I said, that fourth quarter, you missed the first 11 shots of the period. You end up shooting as a team 6 for 26 from the field in the fourth quarter. Jaylen Wells was 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter. Despite that, Grizzlies get that victory because Desmond Bane came up with a huge 3-pointer after the Suns had cut it to 1. The Suns had the ball down 2 with 3 minutes left, but Kennard got a steal, picked off a pass. Even though Jaren, right after that, got an offensive foul, then you had a good defensive stop as Devin Booker misses. And then perhaps the most crucial play of the game was Konchar rebounding one of those Jaylen Wells misses, kicks it out to Bane, who then finds Luke Kennard in the corner. That was just the 3rd made bucket for the Grizzlies in the quarter. That put the Grizz up 5. The Suns did respond with a 3-pointer, but then the Grizzlies got another second chance opportunity that led to a Desmond Bane driving layup. Then Jaren blocks a Devin Booker layup attempt. Konchar completes a 3-point play, and that essentially ended it. Although, kudos to Jaren for hitting the rim on a falling out of bounds circus shot. Another play that the Grizzlies offensive rebounded in the fourth quarter that kept possession and definitely was the hammer, nail, coffin moment of the game. The Grizzlies got 10 offensive rebounds in just the fourth quarter. That's how you win a close game where you shoot 23% in the fourth quarter. So a super fun road victory for the Grizzlies. Jaren's 38 points. That is the 7th most he's ever had in a game. He finished 6 off his career high of 44 and did so while missing 7 free throws. Jaren was just 10 out of 17 from the foul line. That's a career high for free throw attempts and a career high for misses with 7. He played 38 minutes. So because of the shortened rotation, because of the lack of normal available depth pieces, you had Jaren playing 38 minutes. Desmond Bane played a season-high 36 minutes. Desmond, in his season-high 31-point performance, took a season-high 25 field goal attempts. That's 5 more than his previous high in field goal attempts this season. Also, he was efficient, 13 for 25 on those field goal attempts, including 4 out of 8 from the 3-point line. Now, this was the 3rd time ever that Desmond Bane and Jaren both scored 30 in the same game. The previous 2 times this happened, the team lost. Those were from the beginning of the season last year when John Morant was serving his suspension and the Grizzlies were getting off to a horrible start. This time, it occurs in victory as those guys combine for 69 points. Now, Luke Kennard, what a game from Luke Kennard, and specifically, what a good game from Luke Kennard coming after I highlighted last episode how meaningless his 3 highest scoring games of the season had been so far. All of his scoring coming in the fourth quarter garbage time of these games. In this matchup against the Suns, He set a new season high with 17 points, a new season high with 7 rebounds. He tied his season high with 2 steals. He had 4 assists also, played 28 hugely important minutes. An amazing game from Luke. And he did it not just from the three-point line. He did it from the inside. You saw some of those moments where the new offense was really clicking. There was a sequence in the second quarter when Jaren Jackson Jr. went to the bench. And we're all thinking, all right, Jaren, 19-point first quarter, but how's the team going to do when he's on the bench? When we go to Jay Huff and Colin Castleton, how is this going to work? But I think you credit the new offense for actually working. The Suns were having a lot of trouble with it. There was a sequence where Jaylen Wells drove baseline. We've seen this so many times this year. He drove baseline and hits a cutting Luke Kennard on a wraparound pass. Luke finishes right at the bucket like he's a big. This was a great example of the new offense generating buckets when you don't have your typical shot creators on the court. The very next play, Luke Kennard was the one setting up a teammate. He found a cutting Cam Spencer for an easy shot. So the new offense, where it possibly failed against the Thunder and their elite, amazing defense, against the Suns' not good defense, it was carving them up. And it was letting the players who you don't anticipate normally being able to make or create their own shots, it was helping them get buckets. But even beyond that, we saw some moments of individual offensive brilliance from Luke, beating guys off the dribble. He did an amazing dribble move, the likes I've never seen, getting into a one-handed layup that was really impressive. So an awesome game from Luke. Also an awesome game from John Konchar, who's gotten the start essentially at power forward the last 2 games. Like John Konchar started off guarding Kevin Durant. Konchar gets double-digit rebounds for the second straight game. He finishes with 12 boards, 4 of them on the offensive end. He has 7 points, gets 4 assists. Just Jitty doing Jitty things. Whenever Jitty plays, usually good things happen. Reminder, the only reason we talk about him in trade talk so frequently is because they don't seem to want to pay him. And also, he's not your everyday starter, your everyday, you want him to be in the top 8 of the rotation, but just know he's a good player to have around. And right now, this was one of those examples that, hey, having Konchar here, he can step up in a way maybe some other guys can't when the game feels too big for some guys, when Jaylen Wells is missing his shots. Now, Jaylen had a very good defensive game. One of the big stats from this game is that Devin Booker was just 4 out of 20 from the field. I'm pretty sure Devin only made 2 shots when Jaylen Wells was on the court. Jaylen Wells did a great job on defense. He also guarded Kevin Durant. If you're not watching Jaylen Wells play defense when he gets matched up on one of the best offensive players for the other team, you need to. Watch the off-the-ball stuff. He is usually face guarding or top blocking or standing to trying to deny the ball at all times. He doesn't care what else is going on the court. He's just staying within a foot of his man wherever that guy goes, trying to deny him the basketball. And he's exerting, I guess, a lot of effort on the defensive end, and you give him a ton of credit for Devin Booker having a horrible shooting game. Now, this was Devin Booker's first game back from injury, so obviously I think you can say he was rusty. He said he was rusty, but credit where credit is due. Jaylen Wells did a very good job defensively. So did John Konchar. Now, offensively, like I said, Jaylen Wells missed all 7 of his field goal attempts in the fourth quarter. He misses 9 out of his 12 field goal attempts for the game. He was 2 for 8 from 3 for this game. And I was looking at some shooting splits. So Jaylen's overall season numbers on 3-pointers, he's now down under 37%. That overall number, totally fine. Very acceptable. But his shooting splits uncovered a very interesting stat to me. Right now, Jaylen Wells has a very stark home-road difference, much like Santi Aldama. In home games, Jaylen Wells is shooting 44% from the three-point line. In road games, he's shooting 28%. But here's an even bigger disparity. Listen to this split between wins and losses. So they won this game. Jaylen Wells only made 2 out of 8 3-pointers. That is an outlier for the season so far. In wins this year, Jaylen, 44% on three-pointers. In losses, 20%. 44% in wins, 20% in losses. Overall, 10 for 50 on three-pointers in losses. Here's another startling stat. This season, if Jaylen Wells shoots over 33% on three-pointers, the Grizzlies are 14-0. Undefeated in the 14 games, Jaylen Wells shoots over 33%. 9-11 if he shoots 33% or worse. Very interesting numbers there. If Jaylen makes his threes, the Grizzlies have won every single time. So that probably means they're going to lose the next game, that he goes 5 for 5 or something. Now, as far as the bench contributions, of course, Luke Kennard, like I said, had an amazing game. But give a lot of credit to Cam Spencer, who came up huge in this game. Very Konchar-esque from Cam Spencer. Cam Spencer contributed in a big way in his 16 minutes, had 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 offensive rebounds. He did miss all 3 of his three-pointers. Those three-pointers, that's going to be probably the defining feature for him that decides whether or not he sticks in the league. But even without making the three-pointers, his defense, his rebounding, his activity, his overall feel for the game, it's elite. And also, he maybe got into it a little bit with Devin Booker. Showed he wasn't going to back down. An exciting moment there. Colin Castleton, not the best game. He seemed maybe out of his depth in this competitive ball game. Jay Huff played almost 19 minutes, made a couple of shots. Also had some awkward moments where I was confused why he didn't grab loose balls. But despite that, the Grizzlies leaned on, heavy minutes for the main guys. Konchar, 36 minutes. Bane and Jackson both over 36 minutes. Jaylen Wells almost 32 minutes. And they only played 9 guys, and they get this important victory. And they ended the year on a very nice note. It also wrapped up Desmond Bane's December on a very good note. I was pointing out the difference between his November stats and December stats in the previous episode. Now, because of this nice finish, Desmond finishes the month of December averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, over 50% from the field, over 40% from the three-point line, bouncing back from a very underwhelming November. One more stat before I wrap up this shorter episode. This was brought to me. I was alerted to this by a listener named Sancho Ponzi. That's his social media handle. This game, okay, so Scottie Pippen Jr., not the best performance, got in foul trouble. Of course, he contributed on the defensive end, but offensively wasn't his best, of course. But the Grizzlies actually outscored the Suns by 11 points when Scottie Pippen Jr. was not on the court. That's raw plus minus. This season, when we look at net rating, if Scottie Pippen Jr. and Ja Morant are both off the court, so this is not having a traditional point guard on the court, the Grizzlies have played 727 non-garbage time possessions so far without Scottie Pippen Jr. or Ja Morant on the court. In those possessions, they have a plus 23.9 net rating, which is gigantic, of course. That's a wild number. So thank you for alerting me to that. What are the conclusions we draw? Not sure yet. But you have good offensive numbers, you have good defensive numbers, and maybe these lineups where Desmond Bane is your main guard, these lineups where Marcus Smart and Desmond Bane are out there, lineups where you have Luke Kennard and a bunch of other shooters in your normal bigs, these are all succeeding. Maybe that speaks to, if you want to make it an argument that says, without a traditional point guard, maybe the new offense is working even better because everyone understands my job is not to create like a traditional point guard. I don't know. I'm just grasping at conclusions here, but that number is definitely startling and something to continue watching. Now, next up for the Grizzlies, they have a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday night. They play the Kings, and then they follow that up with a game against the Warriors. After that, you return home for the Mavericks and Rockets. Then you got to play the Timberwolves and the Rockets again. Of course, the Grizzlies are in this long streak of playing all Western Conference teams. After that Rockets game, that second Rockets game, you play the Spurs back-to-back. Then it's against the Timberwolves. So right now, it's a gauntlet of a schedule. You got off to a good start, 2-1 on this road trip. Yes, you got destroyed by the Thunder, but you take care of business against the Pelicans. You pick up this nice, impressive, shorthanded win over the Suns. How will they respond in the games on Friday and Saturday? We will see. And which players will be back, we will see. We actually, I guess, got injury updates for Ja Morant. I guess I could have led with that. It was sort of what we expected, or what I expected, maybe on the positive side. They say he's week to week, which frankly is good news. I said I thought it was probably going to be, probably 2 weeks. But, of course, there was the opportunity that it could be much, much worse. So we avoid, apparently, this much worse scenario. Ja Morant is week to week. So is Santi Aldama. I think it's possible Santi could maybe come back this Saturday. It wouldn't be shocking to me. That would be over a week from the time where he twisted his ankle. But right now, we're dealing with Brandon Clark with the soleus injury. Maybe Brandon Clark will be back on Friday or Saturday. Santi Aldama should be back soon. Then hopefully Ja Morant maybe sometime next week. Fingers crossed. Soon after that, hopefully, Marcus Smart. Of course, Zach Edey. The concussion protocol. I don't know. I don't feel like we ever know. That can be several games. Like Grayson Allen just missed a week for the Suns being in the concussion protocol. So I don't know how long that's going to take for Edey to return. And then not too long after that, Vince Williams Jr. and Gigi Jackson can come back. And then the Grizzlies will hopefully, fingers crossed, finally be whole. Do we ever get there? Who knows? Anyways, if you want to support my program, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. I released a bonus episode about 4 days ago. You can access over there, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. You can also join up in the Slack channel, talk about basketball, talk about the Grizzlies, talk about whatever you want over there. Patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.